Hello, everybody. Welcome to History 35, A History of Mexican Americans. I'm Chris Rodriguez. I'll be your instructor for the next 17 weeks as we explore the history of Mexican Americans, or as I rather put it, a history of the United States Southwest and a history of Northern Mexico, and the divergence and the convergence of all the different peoples that come to make up what we today call the Southwest and Northern Mexico. Pardon me if I keep looking around that way. It's just an old habit from when I lecture. I look at all the students in the crowd. So imagine me, when I'm not looking at the camera at you, I'm looking at all you all in the cyber zones we all live in now. So I hope all is well, and I hope you enjoy the class. What I'm going to do is take a few minutes, about 10, 12 minutes, to briefly go over some basic information to help you navigate Canvas better. And I hope it works out for you. Again, the key to success this semester, when I say again, I mean, if you've already reviewed the syllabus and some of the general introductory information on the course webpage, this is just a reminder that the key to our success, because when you do better, I do better, right? When we all do better, we all do better. So the key to our success is just going to be communication with one another. I know we won't have traditional class time or office hours, but we are going to do communications through Zoom, communications through email if you wish, or even you can call me. I've offered my cell phone number on the syllabus. So check it out. I'm sorry, on the homepage of the course. So without further ado, let's go through some basics of the Canvas webpage. Let me share the screen right. All right, there you go. Oops. Cancel. So welcome to our online course, History 35, A History of Mexican Americans. The first thing I'm going to have you do is watch this video. Uh-oh, how did Susana Distancia get there? I love, it seems to me that Mexicans and many folks are dealing with this crisis with humor. So here's the Mexican superheroine, Susana Distancia. And that just means Susana who keeps her distance from people. She's a funny Mexican superhero to help us deal with the COVID reality. So let me scroll down a little bit. The second thing to do is make sure you review the syllabus. It has all the course information and policies you will need. I'm clicking it on right now and hopefully it'll upload. There it goes. It's really dry. It's not going to change your life, but it will introduce you to, this is our contract, right? Between you and I and the institution. So there's a lot of what is a syllabus, how you register and drop for the class. And there's some basic information. If you click here, you'll get a little introduction to who I am. Okay, here's the basic dates. Here's something of note I'm going to highlight for you. On Mondays from 1:30 to 2:30 throughout the semester, except for this Monday, August 17th, but Mondays after that, starting August 24th, from 1:30 to 2:30, I'm going to be having a Zoom meeting with you all, whoever can make it. I highly encourage you to come, but it's not mandatory because a lot of you have other lives and other classes that won't allow you to be available from 1:30 to 2:30. So if you can't be available and join us from 1:30 to 2:30, I will be recording it and I will be posting the recording of the Zoom meeting on the Canvas webpage, okay? So Monday, 1:30 to 2:30, I will be holding voluntary join me and I'll go over some material stuff. And then from Tuesdays from 5 to 7:15 p.m., these are gonna be more open-ended office hours. You can just drop in for 5 minutes and say, hi, Rodriguez, I don't understand this, or this is a really cool concept I never thought of before. And that'll be every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m., 7:15 p.m. Okay, I will not be recording the Tuesday ones because it's just more informal and we'll be covering more logistics and materials that you bring up to me. Here's a little video. I'm just going through the syllabus. I won't go through all of it, but here's a little bit about what Zoom office drop-in is about. There's a little bit in the syllabus about the technology requirements. I highly encourage you, if you can, to get a laptop. I know our Shasta College Library is lending out tablets. If you don't have access to a laptop or a computer, it's going to be real succeed in this class if you just try to do it all through your phone. It's going to be very, very difficult for you. So contact the library, and they have quite a few computers that they are lending out for the whole semester. Okay, so do that soon in case they run out. Check this out. The required materials are all free. They're all going to be available through the links in the questions and material part of the class. Okay, so there's no book to buy. There's no book to buy. It'll all be available within the course Canvas webpage. Okay, so that's one important thing I know you will want to know. So there is no final or midterm for the class. The class is made up of 4 assignments, 700 points total. And I'll go over the assignments in a second. So the totality of your grade is made up of 4 assignments and 5 discussion posts and replies. Okay, and I'll go through what those are when we enter a module. Okay, and those are worth 300 points. So 700 plus 300, the course is worth 1,000 points total. But I will also offer quite a bit of extra credit throughout the semester for those of you who want to explore some of these really interesting topics further, or for those of you who want to boost up your grade, for both reasons. Okay. The assignments overview are as follows. Assignment 1 will cover roughly the years 1500s to the 1820s. Assignment 2 will cover the years 1820s to the 1910s. Assignment 3 will cover 1920s to the 1970s. And assignment 4 will deal with the 1980s to today, again, looking at the diversity of peoples and politics of the US Southwest and Northern Mexico. Some I included on the right-hand side, some of the subjects we will be exploring. For example, when we look at the 1980s till today, we'll be looking at issues such as immigration, the drugs and arms trade, and 21st century borderlands. In my classes, I include lectures. There's going to be lecture slides. When I say lectures, I'm going to record short Zoom lectures. The ones on Monday for an hour, I'll include those. Those will have you all contributing and chiming in. But also be uploading Zoom lectures where it's just me sharing material with you. We'll also look at film. We'll listen to podcasts. And anytime I'm going to include a film or a podcast that has sound or audio, there will be closed captioning, or there will be a transcript available for those of you hard of hearing, or for those of you like me who need redundant ways to get information. Sometimes I like to listen to a podcast and read the transcript of it, so I really get in my thick, hollow head. Okay. One important thing I do want to, I'm scrolling to the bottom of the syllabus, is our college resources. We have quite a lot of college resources. We have monies. I sent you all an email talking about monies that we're basically giving to you all for free. They're not loans. They're just cash payouts. From $25 up to $250. Check out the Canvas mail. I sent you all the information's in there. I would suggest asking for the $250 maximum, right? And just say you need it. Okay, so it's no questions asked, and I encourage you to do that. Who doesn't need another $250 in this day and age, right? So please check out these college resources we have for you. There's everything from a food pantry to student health and wellness. There's links to counseling services we have on campus. There's just myriad of things to check out. So please do. Without further ado, I'm going to scroll up and hit the modules page. If you keep seeing me looking outside, I'm looking outside to make sure my dogs don't wander off. Looking at my modules page, our modules page. Come on. Come on. Zoom life, right? Life inside the Zoom. We're all in each other's houses and homes, right? So at the top of the modules page, you'll see the syllabus and introductions. What we're going to be doing the first week of class is just getting to know each other better and getting to know the course better. So this includes the syllabus, a getting to know you brief survey, which is totally 100% confidential. And then some discussion posts and replies that I just ask you, tell me a little about yourself. What do you do for fun? How do you do self-care? Why are you here? What do you want to get from Shasta College? How can we help you? Simple introductory questions like that. Getting down to probably what you're most interested in is what's the course about? How am I going to present material? And what are we going to learn? Well, each assignment, there'll be 4. Right, here are the 4 assignments you can see here, broken down in these different epochs, different eras, right? We go chronologically as historians tend to do. So to get the questions and the materials for assignment 1, click on questions and materials for assignment 1. Click it. And at the top, you will see review the directions, review questions and materials, and then submit them here. This link will send you to the page and where you can submit your answers. And what I'm trying this semester, I've tried it last semester and it was really successful. You can submit your assignments as traditional. You type out a sentence, right, and answer the question and back it up with evidence. Or you could submit it as a podcast in which you speak about the question, answer the question through a podcast and back it up with evidence. Or you could submit it as a video. Canvas has allowed you to submit material in various ways. And I find some of the most creative and interesting media types are podcast and video. But hey, if you're an old school, I just want to type it out, that's totally fine. I understand. So I'm not going to go through all this. You can do it on your own time. Here are the directions. Answer all the questions using examples from assignment material in complete sentences. Submit the assignment by going to the link, which I'll show you in a second. Okay. A successful assignment will offer a well-developed response backed by specific evidence from assigned material. Don't Google it. Googling's too easy. I know it's just so easy to just Google stuff. Don't. Use the assigned material in at least 3 complete sentences for each answer. I encourage you to go over. Some students write a whole page for each answer, and that's fine. But at least 3 for each question. Cite your source. I'll let you read this at your leisure. Why do we cite our sources? Historians, because remember, as historians, I don't trust you. It's not that I don't trust you. I want you to show your source. Just like when I'm a historian writing a paper, I have to show my sources so my peers know I'm just not making this stuff up. My favorite question within the questions you will see is WSYA, and that simply means what strikes you about the Spanish invasion of the Aztecs, for example. And here you will simply offer your analysis and use evidence from the assigned material to back up your answer. So basically, to get an A, answer the question and back it up with answer the question in your own words, back it up with specific examples from the course material, boom, go on, and then cite it where you got it. For example, if you got it in Rodriguez' Conquest of the Inca, there it is, okay? I should change that. We're not going to talk about the conquest of the Inca. We're going to talk about the conquest of the Aztecs. So I will change this. My bad. Oh, teaching online. My bad. Okay. So let's go down to the questions and materials for assignment 1. And the first one is simply a question I ask you about what strikes you about Mexico's linguistic diversity according to their 2000 census. And what I want you to do is just look at some of this data that showed, look at the number of different languages spoken in Mexico in 2000. It's truly incredible. And I hope right away it just speaks to the diversity of Mexican society, indigenous Mexican society, which is still existing today. right? They were not conquered 100%. Sure, there's a dominant Spanish and Mestizo influence in Mexico today, but the Mexican root is still very much there. The indigenous Mexican root is still there. So that's an example of a question I will ask you. And then once you answer that question, there are no right or wrong answers. There's only answers that are backed by evidence and answers that are not backed by evidence. Okay. The second one, what strikes you about the Mexica or Aztec migration south? And I will be uploading a lecture. I will talk about the pre-Hispanic Mexica people. In other words, we'll look at the Aztec or Mexica society before the Spanish arrived in 1519. And on. There's other questions. Here's a podcast to listen to. It's about a 15-minute podcast that is a report on this really super interesting piece of Aztec art. This is jade with teeth, actual animal teeth. This piece of art is discussed in this BBC history podcast. And again, here's a link to the transcript. Let me click the link to the transcript to give you an example. Here it is. Again, if you're hearing impaired or just want to read it, there it is. There is the transcript to the podcast you'll be listening to. And we go back to the questions. All right, now I'm just going to scroll down. Here's question. The second part is going to be a reading assignment. You're going to be reading the first 2 chapters of this book, Jeffrey Pilcher, Que Vivan los Tamales. It's a history of Mexico through food. And he's a really brilliant historian. He's not that good of a cook. In Oaxaca in the year 2000, I was at a symposium with him. And to see him use a knife in the kitchen made me nervous. So he's a really good writer and historian, but just have somebody else cut up the onions. Don't tell him I said that, he's a good guy. So for the chapters 1 and 2 of this, because remember I told you there's nothing to read, you just click on right here. And you're gonna get all these options. The original format is PDF, but you can access this chapter in alternative formats. You can electronic braille. You can have an audio version, which is like a computer that reads it out, but it's better than nothing, right? There's these different ways to access this chapter, or you can go old school and click on chapter 1, part 1, which I just did. And it opens up in a PDF at the bottom of my screen. You'll see it. You just click the PDF and boom, there it is, The People of Corn. And I just made photocopies of it and uploaded it. Here's the chapter, The People of Corn. Here's page 8 and 9. Here's page 10 and 11. Okay. So again, this is to help you save money so you don't have to buy the whole book. If you do want to buy the whole book, feel free. It's a great book. So there are, for chapter 1, Jeffrey Pilcher, Que Vivan los Tamales, there are 4 questions. And look at, I even give you the page numbers where those the answers are located. So I'm really trying to help you not get confused by the logistics so you can engage further into the material. Part 2, the conquest of wheat. I ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. There's an extra credit question sandwiched in here. But in all, questions 5 through 10 deal with chapter 2, the conquest of wheat. And I hope you enjoy the book. I think it's a really interesting, fascinating read. And finally, the last chapter, there's going to be 3 chapters in assignment 1 total. The third chapter is from Alan Taylor. He's a Pulitzer Prize. If you don't know what that is, that just means he's a great historian and even a better writer. A chapter from his book about the Spanish frontier. And this is about the Spanish invasion and settlement of what today is New Mexico and Arizona. And Florida, it includes Florida in there too. So here is a chapter about the Spanish frontier. And here are questions dealing with the various sections of the chapter. You're going to look at Cabeza de Vaca, who's the name of a conquistador, a Spanish soldier who went in. There's a chapter about Soto, Coronado, Florida, a section within the chapter, I'm sorry, about New Mexico. These will be all very clear once you go through the reading. let me show you. Here's the Spanish Frontier. I'm gonna click it. The PDF downloaded. Well, we'll wait for its downloading, it takes a bit. And then the Pueblo Revolt. Here, let me click this Alan Taylor's PDF. And here is the chapter, the Spanish Frontier. And here it is. Remember I asked you about Cabeza de Vaca? Here's the subsection of the chapter discussing Cabeza de Vaca, means head of a cow. It's a long story how his family got the name head of a cow. And I'll tell you that maybe during our office hours. And there's a question to ask me. Okay, and then on and on, here's the section on Soto, right there. Okay, and that coincides with, here's the Cabeza de Vaca question, and here's the Soto question. So I hope it's all crystal clear. If not, call me, contact me, get in touch with me, have me explain. I hate for you to get tripped up on logistics. And finally, the last section in assignment 1 is about the issue of how do we publicly remember history? It's about statues. And I know today and age, we're dealing with a lot of issues of how do we remember United States history through Confederate statues? How do we not? This is dealing with a statue in El Paso, Texas, of Oñate, Juan de Oñate, who's a Spanish conquistador in the late early 1600s. So I'm asking you to watch this 10-minute report on the statue, on the controversy surrounding the Oñate statue. And then I'd like you to listen to a 7-minute more up-to-date report about the statue of the conquistador Juan de Oñate. This report is rather new. It's a little more than a month old. So this history of the Spanish conquest from 400 years ago is still with us, okay? This last conquistador report was from 2008. So this controversy has been around since basically the statue was built over 10 years ago. Okay, that is assignment 1. So what you can do, once you're at the bottom of assignment 1, you can just click next. And this is just a reminder to do discussion, post, and replies. But if you hit next down at the bottom, here's where you will submit the assignment. Again, you can submit it by typing it out, by uploading a PDF or Word document, or by submitting a podcast or video. That would be really cool. Oh, and I don't care if you work together with the podcast or videos, work together separately, like Susana Distancia recommended. Talk to me if you want to do that. Okay, teamwork. All right, so that's where you submit it. And I'm reminding you to post discussion and replies, because remember, 300 points of the total 1,000 points consist of your participation in this discussion, posts, and replies. All right. What are discussion posts and replies? Well, the posts are basically your copied and paste answers from what you wrote in the assignment. Here it is. What strikes you about the Mexica and Aztec migration south? I just want you to post them here so your fellow students can see what you wrote, right? So we can kind of share our information. And you're going to respond to them, of course, in a respectful manner. I have no tolerance for disrespect, and either should you. So post what you wrote of the following questions. This is from Alan Taylor, The Spanish Frontier. This one's from the Spanish Frontier, New Mexico. You'll see it. Right, here's a question about the Don Oñate statue, the film and the report. And then here, most importantly, are your replies to at least 3 of your fellow students. You don't necessarily have to reply to every question they posted, but reply in some substantial way to at least 3 of your fellow students' discussion posts. Okay, and this is oftentimes what's the coolest part of this whole online teaching thing, your online discussions amongst each other. And I'm going to chime in there too. Don't worry, I'm going to be there in the weeds, responding and replying to you all as well. Okay, going back to the modules. That's it. We just went over the questions and materials for assignment 1, where you submit assignment 1 by September 14th. So check it out. You have a little less than a month to complete that. I hope that's enough time, and get started early. If you get started on September 12th or September 11th, you will not finish, and you're going to send me a very harried email saying, Rodriguez. Oh, by the way, you can call me Chris, you can call me Rodriguez, Professor Rodriguez, just as long as it's respectful, and I'll do the same to you. Here's the discussion posts and replies, and here is extra credit. I'm going to be offering extra credit every semester, every assignment. And the extra credit for assignment 1 includes this 10-minute interview with the historian I worked with at UC Davis, historian Andres Resendez, who's a brilliant historian, and he just discusses his book, The Other Slavery. So what you can do is watch that interview and just respond to it. What strikes you about his discussion of the other slavery? You also have the opportunity to listen to a 5-minute report on the legacy of slavery in New Mexico. You can also check out, this is getting a little nerdy, you can check out ancient Aztec writings. They were a literate culture. These are called codices. There's many different codices that have survived. This one's called the Borgia Group. Don't worry about the name, but it's just a book that they wrote. Yes, the ancient Mesoamericans were a writing culture, one of 5 in the world. And then here's one a little more artsy-fartsy, talking about current legacies of the conquest and how it's still with us today. It's called Visiones, Latino Art and Culture. And this is episode 3, talks about the history of the Virgin Mary. I think you'll really like it. Again, here's one thing I would like for you to do is the following. I'm back to the homepage. I'm scrolling down the homepage. Please add a headshot. Many of you have already done this. Please add a headshot so we can get just an idea of who you are. If you don't want to, it's definitely not, I won't hold it against you. It's not required, but offer a headshot and a little biography of yourself if you'd like. Let me click on the people link that you'll find in the upper left-hand part of the module right there. And here is our class. Right at the top is Kylie. There's Kylie who added a headshot. Thank you very much, Kylie. There is Alyssa who's added a headshot. There is Amber. Hello, Amber, who added a headshot. Oh, welcome back, Amber. You were with me during the summer. Where's Rodriguez? Let's look at mine. Here's Rodriguez. That's me. And I added a little biography. You don't have to, but it's helpful, right? Just to get us to know each other better, even though we're apart. I was born in Mexico City to a Mexican father and a mother from LA. Yep. So, yeah, I am, like millions of others, I'm Mexican American. So here's a little bit about me. I won't bore you with the details. You can look at it, and it's not going to change your life or anything, but there's a little bit about me. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish up now, and I hope to see you all August 18th. There are going to be 2, let me look at your announcements. I'm going to click on the announcements. Woo, I just sent out a revised Zoom meeting time announcement. Oh, by the way, the F word for this class is flexibility, right? I ask that you be flexible, and I will be flexible with you as long as we are open and communicative about it. For the first week of class, August 18th, I will be holding many office hours on Tuesday, okay? From Tuesday, August 18th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., click on this link and you'll be entered into a Zoom meeting room. Or Tuesday, 5 to 7 p.m., click on a link and you'll be invited to the meeting room. This is not mandatory, but it's just a chance for you to get to know each other and get to know me and ask me any old question you want. However, for the rest of the semester, these will be our Zoom times. On Mondays from 1:30 to 2:30, every Monday, except holidays, I will be opened up from 1:30 to 2:30, and I'll be offering you some material. I'll be presenting to you some material, but it'll also be a chance for you to give some feedback, or if you have questions, it'll be the time. I'll be recording the Monday Zoom meetings and posting them. So you do not have to be there. It's not mandatory. I know you have other things going on. The Tuesday office Zoom times are just for traditional office drop-ins. If you have questions, come on in, or if you're just lonely and want to chat with other students who may join us, drop in Tuesdays from 5 to 7. Okay. In the interest of not making this too long, I'm going to go back to the home page, and again, I'm going to be recording this. There's going to be closed caption for this, and I hope to see you on Tuesday, August 18th at one of the introductory Zoom meetings. Okay, I'm going to stop share, and there's the big picture of me, and I will see you all later. Take care.